my tip and trick of the day, I just wanted to go over again how to eliminate ladders when you're working in the round. So a ladder, and on one of these sides, I have a pretty good ladder going. A ladder happens when your stitches are not tight when you start the round. And so these are my socks that I'm doing 2 at a time on one needle. And so every time I start half of this on each of these sides, I have the opportunity to make a ladder. So it will just be really loose stitches in there. And it looks kind of nasty. And so there's a couple different things that you need to do to eliminate them. The first thing is when you're setting up your rounds, always start, your first stitch should always be a knit stitch. This is only really appropriate or important when you're doing your ribbing. And so make sure if you're doing a ribbing or you're doing a pattern that has knits and purls in it, that your first stitch is going, and first stitch on this side and first stitch on your back side is going to be a knit. The next thing to eliminate that is to make sure that your needles are very close together. So here's my last stitch, here's my next stitch, and I'm putting my my needle into the stitch. I'm going to knit it, and I'm going to pull it tight. And I want to do that for 2 stitches. So the first 2 stitches that you do, you're going to do extra tight. And that's because you need to have that extra tightness over a couple of different stitches so that any extra that is from in between, in between your 2 parts of your needle are going to be evened out over those stitches. So hold them tight in the first 2 stitches and then just keep stitching around. And I will show you that again on the back side. I haven't been knitting on these because I was doing tour de fleece, so that these are kind of stagnant. And you may have seen on my finger, especially this hand, I've been dyeing this morning. So I have green fingers today. Oh well, it happens. Sometimes I wear, even when I wear gloves, like sometimes there'll be like a little pinprick hole that you don't see and you still get dye in your fingers. It just happens. So again, when I get to the end, and sometimes I even make that the last stitch on this side, I will also make that one a little extra tight. And that's just so those extra tight stitches will even out any extra yarn that you have between the 2 sides of this needle. Okay, so here's my last one. I'm going to do it a little bit tighter. I have to move my needles around because I'm using just one needle. So pulling this one out, turning these around, getting my stitches lined up. All right. So I'm going to get very close. I'm very close to this part of my needle. And I'm going to go around and I'm going to pull that stitch extra tight. And then I'm going to pull the second one extra tight. And then just go ahead and knit as you normally would. And that's how you eliminate ladders. And that will work in socks. It works when you're making a sweater in the round. It works on a hat. It works when you're using double pointed needles and you have a whole bunch of, you may have 3 different ladders if you're using double pointed needles, right? So any time that you are changing needles in the middle of your round, you're going to hold the stitches, the 2 stitches on the side extra tight. Now the other thing that will happen is as you're wearing them and as you're blocking things, also those stitches will even out. So after a while, even though I know on one of these socks, and it's kind of already evened out because I couldn't even find it. As you wear these socks, as you block these socks, as you wash these socks, all those stitches are all going to even out. And so the ladders will disappear. So that's my tip and trick of the day.